What have your impressions here in preseason been of Payton Pritchard, how he's looked, how he's played, how he's felt, based on what he's relayed to all of you in the media?
My first impression is that he is definitely not as good as Malcolm Brogdon, and that's the dumbest take I've ever heard in my life. But you probably had worse takes, so I don't want to say it's the dumbest take you've ever had.
Wait it out, Jared. You'll see.
Payton's been good. He's been good. And I think any take that was pro Payton was going to be good just because it couldn't have gotten worse. He was pissed. He really worked on getting a little bit more explosive during the offseason, which is like a really important thing for him. So I think a lot of people in Boston, they've watched Payton Pritchard and they've been like, why isn't he getting an opportunity? Why? Like, he's clearly got talent. The thing with him is that he's short and he doesn't have a ton of like push. So he'll try to change direction. He'll try to get up in the air, and he just doesn't get up there the way a guard needs to be able to really thrive in the NBA. And so that's really limited him when he's not able to just step up into a three. Like, he's had trouble not just scoring in the paint, but also passing in the paint. And and also, you know, people see like, you know, the ball handling drills that he was doing before he was in the NBA. They see stuff like that. They're like, he must be an amazing dribbler. It's one thing to be able to control the ball, but you also need to combine that with your footwork and your ability to move, you know, like move off of your steps. So like Kemba Walker was a great example, probably the last guy I can think of in Boston, where he was small, but every step he took, he was able to push off and get so much distance every single time. He'd be able to hop around. And that made him super effective. He was able to, like, his step backs, he covered like 10 feet of space basically on those step backs. And now we're seeing with Pritchard, you know, he's had a few of those step backs in the preseason, and he's starting to come around. Like, they did a really good job with, you know, his training staff, with the team, of like really kind of getting more pop in his game, having him play with a little bit more speed. And like, you know, Payton's aggressive, but he would usually kind of get towards where he needed to go, and then he wouldn't find his window. And I think part of being super aggressive is like just going through and forcing that window. And I think we're starting to see that from him. So I would definitely be cautious about expecting more just because it's preseason. And I think every year people forget the gap between preseason defense and regular season defense. Like, it's pretty drastic. The example I always bring up is, I don't remember what year, but back when I was a kid and I was still a fan, I remember Justin Reed had like a really huge preseason. He was like a second-round pick. I thought he was going to start for the Celtics based on how he was playing. And I think he was out of the NBA by the end of that season. Like, it's there's a rude awakening. But I mean, we know Payton, you know, we know that he can get a shot off in the regular season. I think the question is, can he run point? Can he hold up defensively? And can he get into the paint and then not have to turn around? Like, he just needs to be able to have forward momentum when he has the ball.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
I'm optimistic he's going to do it pretty well. I think this talk about him winning Sixth Man of the Year that I've seen a few people bring up, it's a little excessive, especially because the Sixth Man is going to be like either Al Horford, Derek White, or Jrue Holiday, maybe, right, based on the night. So like, definitely not going to happen. But I think the Celtics paying him $7.5 million and just betting that he could be their backup guard was definitely the right call so far.
And to clarify the take, by the way, just so there's no confusion about Sixth Man of the Year or something like that, it was not that Payton Pritchard was going to be better this year than Malcolm Brogdon was last year. It's that I absolutely expect regression out of Brogdon. He's not going to shoot the three as well as he did last year. It was an anomaly of a year in that respect. And there are a lot of things around that honestly, he just didn't do as well as, you know, I think people are led to believe as it relates to winning Sixth Man of the Year. So it's a this year comparison, Pritchard versus Brogdon, just to, you know, for any confusion that any listeners or you, Jared, may have around that, but, you know, flaming hot take. But Ev, clearly,
competent take.
Yeah, he's clearly he is not. Weiss here is not as in on the Pritchard talk as we are.
Well, I think he's doing a really smart thing. It's just called managing expectations. And I think that comes with a certain amount of level-headedness that sometimes you and I can get caught up in from time to time, that we don't really experience that. It has been a wonderful couple of games to watch Payton Pritchard really thrive. I kind of agree with Jared. He looks slightly more explosive. He's getting downhill a little bit more. He had a move, and now I'm just blanking on who he kind of sized up in transition, and I forget exactly one of the quarter because it's preseason. I don't, take as copious of notes as I normally do. But there was a point, I believe, in the second half of the Sixers game, the third game of the preseason, where he was kind of at one speed at around 3/4 court, sized up the defender who was approaching him to try and stop the ball, and just blew right by the guy for an easy layup. There's a couple other instances where I think it was against the Knicks where he'd get down low. I think it was against Sims. I don't remember exactly this point where he's down low, brings it back out, but does that little awesome, Tatum does it a lot now, the fake one way, spin back the other way and get an easy layup. I think he seems more comfortable at this moment. I was going back through when I found this video, I think Greeny had it in one of his blogs about he was having a conversation with somebody about how he hired guys from the European leagues that he knew to come over and work with him, one-on-one to really guard him so he could really put some serious work in, not just getting defended by a chair or just having your basic 5-on-5 pickup that you see a lot of these superstars do. He was trying to have guys really guard him and put him to the ringer, so to speak. So the hard work that Pritchard has put in the off seasons seems like it's paying off. I'm with Jared in maybe we get to pump the brakes on it, but at the same time, I'm not here to tell you to not get excited because, he brings a certain amount of spacing to the floor if he's going to knock down threes from 35 feet. I mean, I'm not expecting it all the time, but he's clearly got a lot of confidence right now pulling up from wherever he wants to pull up from. And if he's a little bit more comfortable driving to the basket, how that could translate to points for other guys. I think Kaufman through the first couple of games, the offense has not been a concern at all. It seems like this team has taken maybe another step forward in their offensive sets. Seems like they're going to be able to run things without Jalen and Jason on the floor again against preseason defenses. And it's exciting because a lot of the things that you get annoyed about with this team are the stagnant offensive possessions they have at the end of games. And again, through 3 preseason games, we haven't seen that. So I think there's the level of optimism that I think collectively people are feeling, I think is warranted. And Pritchard is definitely at the top of the reasons as to why you should feel optimistic. He's been tremendous. I'm shocked that he's been this good in terms of wow, he looks a little different. He looks a little more explosive. It looks like he has a better handle on how he needs to attack certain things. It's not about he's not going to jump out of the gym. He's not a guy that's going to, come off of certain screens like a Hauser will and become a move. No, this is more of a guy who has the offense in his hands and just looks a little bit more capable of starting things and finishing things. And that's been a real awesome perk to watch for the first 3 games.
So, Jared, team-wide, let's get off of Pritchard's jock for a second and talk about...
I'm not done with Pritchard.
All right, please, more about Pritchard, by all means.
Yeah.
Let's say this is the Payton Pritchard tribute show.
Sure. Yeah, listen, we can stay an extra 20 minutes, by the way, if we have to. I want to get all these Pritchard takes off. First off, you mentioned the off-ball shooting. I actually think that's something that they should be using him more on because he's pretty good at that. And I think one thing that we're seeing Svi do a lot, who's been pretty solid so far, is he's one of those shooters that he'll do the quick give and go where he'll pitch ahead to a big and then immediately off of that sprint around that big for the handoff and pull up right off of the handoff coming around that screen. Those quick little 2-man things. I feel like when the Celtics tried to do 2-man actions last year, it was kind of slow and deliberate. It's let's get either one of the guards to sprint into a screen or let's get the spots right to do a pick and pop with the big. And because of Porzingis and because he can do pretty much everything out of a screen, they can do a lot of that. But I think using these guys like Pritchard, Hauser, and Svi and having Svi really show them how to do it in the NBA, getting a lot more of those quick, sprint into it 2-man actions would be really beneficial.
With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/newsfeed50 and use code newsfeed50 to get 50% off. That's code newsfeed50 at factormeals.com/newsfeed50 to get 50% off.